Welcome, everybody, to College Basketball Preview Show on the Grueling True Sports Network. Today, we have a highly anticipated, at least in the state of Indiana, battle between the Indiana Hoosiers as they'll host the Purdue Boilermakers on Sunday afternoon at 1:30. Purdue travels to Bloomington to take on Indiana in their second matchup of the season. Purdue won the first game in West Lafayette 81-76. Braden Smith's 24.7 assists and 6 steals led the Boilermakers, while Mackenzie Mbako scored 25 points and had 5 rebounds. Now, less than 2 weeks ago, a little bit longer than that first game happened, Purdue was in contention for the Big Ten regular season championship. A three-game losing streak has put a serious dent in these hopes. But the Boilermakers are still fighting to finish in the top 4 of the conference standings and receive a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. Indiana will be making a coaching change at the end of the season, which Hoosier fans have to love, but they still have an outside shot at making the NCAA tournament. Any shot at making the NCAA tournament includes a win tomorrow against Purdue. A win against their big rival would boost those hopes while giving head coach Mike Goodpaster something to celebrate, I guess, as his tenure draws to a close. Now, when we look at the point spread, Purdue's favored by 4.5 points. On the money line, Purdue's minus 176, Indiana's plus 146. Both teams are relatively healthy. Now, the first matchup was closer than expected. Indiana had a 7-point lead in the first half. It was within a basket near the end of the game, despite being a 12.5-point underdog on the road. Indiana's undoing were 20 turnovers they committed, leading to 25 of Purdue's points. It was a bit of an anomaly, as Indiana generally has been in the middle of the pack of all schools in turnover percentage. And Indiana pretty much gave that game away with just poor coaching and selfish players. I mean, Miles Rice would be the guy that stands out the most there. And Indiana has struggled in close games against good teams this year and really the last 4 years, but especially this season. Now, Purdue may be on a 3-game slide, but all 3 of their losses have been to top 20 opponents. Indiana briefly showed life by beating a good Michigan State team on the road, but has lost 8 of their last 10 games. Many of the teams not nearly as good as Purdue. Indiana shoots three-pointers poorly, 31.5% for the season, while the Boilermakers are one of the better teams in the country at defending from long range. Indiana is also not adept at causing turnovers, so look to Purdue to get comfortable running their offense. Of course, rivalry games mean anything can happen, and I'm sure that will be the case tomorrow in this game. Now, when you look at it, Indiana has not played since a 4-point loss to UCLA. That game by Sunday will have been 9 days before. Indiana's had 8 days to prepare. Now, normally that would be a big deal. I don't know that it is here. I don't know that Mike Woodson really is a good enough coach to figure this out. If Indiana was to beat Purdue, it's just going to be on sheer players. The issue with that is this. Indiana, when you look back at the upset win against Michigan State, they played a zone. If they play a zone in this game, Purdue will destroy them. If Indiana starts Ballo and Renew together, or they play for any length of time together, it's probably going to ignite a big Purdue run because Indiana is not going to be able to guard them with those 2 big men on the floor, especially if Mbako's out there too. They're not athletic enough to get out and guard the perimeter or the wings. So the way this will play out probably is Mike Woodson will hopefully realize that. But we all know he's probably not going to, and he's probably going to start them both again. Purdue will jump out to an early lead. Indiana will sit one of the big men. Indiana will come back at the start of the second half. Indiana will play both big men again. They'll fall back into a hole. And then one of them will come out, and they'll make a little run again. So right now, at 4.5 points, what I see is this. I believe Purdue probably wins this game. I do not trust them to win this game by 5 points. I don't trust Indiana to cover by 5 points, or 4.5 points, because the Hoosiers have been a wreck also. And who knows when all of a sudden Indiana's just going to mail it in because they got a lame duck head coach who doesn't seem to give a damn anyways. So, against my better judgment, I'm going to take Indiana in the 4.5 points. I still expect a close Purdue win, probably in the last 30 seconds when Matt Painter will outcoach Mike Woodson. But that's my bet for this game. Take Purdue. Take Indiana in the 4.5 points, but I do believe Purdue probably ekes it out in the last minute. All right, guys, make sure if you want to bet this game, you get a BetMGM. They're the top-rated sportsbook for betting on college basketball. You can click on a link in the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you follow me on X at Grilling Truth. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications on YouTube, and check out thegrillingtruth.com. For now, guys, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grilling Truth, where the legends speak.